It is one game and it is 3 points for FC Barcelona, which is what you want to see when you get Liga started. There was registration, fears, and all that chaos around the club, but on the pitch, Barcelona, even if it was with a little bit of help from a little bit of a red friend, Barcelona got the job done today. Welcome to episode 713 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am Dan Hilton, and before I jump into the 5 headlines, I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. If you're listening, well, there's also a video version of this on YouTube, as well as some other content. And on YouTube, not only was it 30,000 last month, but we also hit 40,000 this month, and that is so exciting. Thank you so much to everybody that jumped on for me, and I am now on my way to 50,000. So subscribe if you're not already, and also thank you everyone who joined me on the first Big Up, along with my friend Oscar helped me out on that one. And while yes, I am in a hotel room with shoddy internet, yes, I've got a little bit of a head cold. Barcelona, fortunately, with the Liga beginning today, we have got to get this done, and they gave me an exciting game that I get to talk about regardless of all the other circumstances. So without further ado, let's dive in. Here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's 3-0 win over Mallorca in the first match day of the Liga 2025-26. Headline 1 is Lamine Yamal's season-opening assist. The starting lineup from Hansi Flick, I think maybe there were talking points, but I also don't, because we all knew this was coming based on reports that we should have been believing about registrations, also about the health and fitness, not necessarily injuries. Lewandowski is out injured, Bernal not yet back ready. Ter Stegen obviously out for a few months, but the other guys who were either not feeling 100%, which was Casado and Koundé. We also knew that Olmo was 100% either, and yet Koundé, Olmo, they were on the bench, Casado on the bench as well. So they were available, as we saw 2 of those 3 names. But there's a reason why all the kids were also given a chance on the bench in case this game went away, but they could be in it, which is not how the first half played out. Joan Garcia got registered at the last hour, as did Marcus Rashford. And by last hour, I legitimately mean last hour with Marcus Rashford. Chesney, Gerard Martin, and Rooney Bargi were not registered in time, so they're going to have to wait on getting their Liga campaign kicked off. But Hansi Flick still had enough to work with to get a good result and put a pretty good starting lineup out there, which obviously included Raphinha and Lamine Yamal. And I'm going to jump quickly to the 7th minute to give you what was a beauty of an assist from Lamine Yamal. I'm going to talk about him aplenty here in this match review, but for a player that didn't have his best game, he still had a pretty gosh darn good game, foreshadowing what's going to happen later. And it all starts here with this assist in the 7th minute. It's just a standard cross to the back post, and Mallorca falls asleep. Raphinha gets him caught out and finds the header, able to keep himself onside for this one, which was probably the hardest part of it. I would also put this on Mojica quite a bit, because he should not have given Lamine Yamal any bit of space there. Not only did he give him space, but he also didn't have help coming. Maybe he thought a second defender was sliding over, but hey, if you're not going to slide over a second defender, and then you're the primary defender to give too much space to Lamine Yamal, he's going to pick out a good pass like that, and Raphinha puts Barca up 1-0. Headline 2 is Ferran Torres and head controversy. Before we do talk about that second goal for Barcelona, Mallorca, they weren't necessarily dead in the water. They're at home to start this match. Yes, they go down 1-0 in the first 10 minutes, but they had a game plan. It was obviously to defend, absorb pressure the way they did last season, to help them into the top half of the Liga, and then get out and run, figure some things out, and have the ball bounce your right way, and then have your striker, who is usually Muriqi, finish something off and get lucky. And they almost didn't do that here in the 22nd minute. They stay onside after Lamine Yamal gives it away to start the counter. The ball was bouncing pretty fortuitously at times for Mallorca in the first half, but then Muriqi, unfortunately for Mallorca, didn't get up on the ball, and he goes right to Joan Garcia, who was really good every time he was called in an action today. Joan Garcia, yeah, he looks like a pretty good signing at this point, as both he and Rashford, of course, making their Barca first team debuts, official debuts, I should say. Now, the second goal for Barcelona comes in the 23rd minute. They do score after some controversy, and I know the internet will be abuzz about this one, but I think this is actually pretty straightforward as to what happened. You can ask the referee on whether or not he did the right thing or the wrong thing, but based on what happened, he wound up making the right decision after the fact. They should not have overturned this goal, even though Valjean went down with an apparent head injury, because the referee did not immediately blow that whistle. I counted, it was about 4.5 seconds from the time where Valjean hits that ball with his head and then begins to go to the ground, because he did go to the ground right away, and that goal being scored, it's about 4 seconds. The fact that the ref did not blow the whistle, that means you really can't overturn it. The ref should have blown the whistle, and Ferran Torres from 18 yards out, Mallorca players continue to play on as well. You play to the whistle. They did that. Now, the real question is, you can let me know in the comments or on social media if you're listening, did the ref mess this up? The head injury whistle should have been called earlier if there was an apparent head injury, but it also was not a head injury based on contact. It was based on a clearance. So to my understanding, the official ruling is that it's not technically an immediate head injury based on a clearance, even though that's also still CTE and all those different things that I'm not going to get into. But because it wasn't a blown whistle early in that progression, even after 4 seconds, that was enough time. Ferran Torres got the shot in. Mallorca had continued to play on. And I think that is a clear and obvious goal from that perspective. But if the ref had blown the whistle, I also sit at home going, hey, I'm really glad that they decided to do the right thing based on head injuries. And when goals like this are taken off the board because of head injuries, I'm totally fine with that. But because they played on and did not stop the play because of the head injury, that goal deservedly should count. Headline 3 is Rojas a todas partes, which translates to Reds for everyone. And this kind of does sum up that first half, at least for Mallorca. Not everyone, just the Mallorca part of thing, or the guys in red, I should say. They just got more and more red. The first red card of the game comes in the 33rd minute. It's just a second yellow. And I think the ref is kind of fair to give both of these, and maybe it's a bit harsh, but he goes in on the back, takes the guy out. It's a yellow card offense, so he gets the second yellow. And by the book, that's fair. So Morales, who is probably Mallorca's brightest player in that first half up to that point, well, he's off cold showers early in the 33rd minute. Then in the 39th minute, Joan Garcia gets a boot in the face, and this one is also pretty clear and obvious that it is a red card. VAR did take a look at it, so the ref also took a look at it, but Mariki's boot definitely did not have to strike Joan Garcia's face in that progression. It did. He could have pulled out. He also was kind of jumping up as the boot hit him in the face, that being Joan Garcia, so that to me is an obvious red. So Mallorca, if anything, you can argue about the Morlanes one, but if you've already got a red in the books, maybe don't kick the opposing goalkeeper in the face. I feel like there's a lesson there. So to me, that one is pretty obvious. You want to argue in the comments, maybe argue the Morlanes one. I don't know what to tell you. But after that second red card, I will give some credit to Mallorca here because Barcelona, whether it was self-inflicted, the last pass just wasn't good enough, especially in that first half after the 2 goals had been scored. The build-up, pretty good. Yamal had some fun dribbles, especially in the first half, but I thought Yamal, very much like he was giving the ball away in his own half when it was 11-11 the way he shouldn't have, he was also waiting too long to release it. So with Lamine Yamal is going to be the best player in the world, he is. I would say that he was the man of the match and still didn't have his best game, and I want to remind you of those things kind of throughout this 5 headlines. And yet he did it again a few minutes later, this time on a dribble move himself, almost scores a solo effort at that point in the first half, and yet he gave it away just a little bit too late, and Fermin Lopez commits the foul instead, and it looks like it was on Fermin, but no, it was on Lamine Yamal. He released it just a second too late. And then at the stroke of halftime, the thing that I think most neutrals, if that's what you care about, or Barcelona haters are going to be most mad about, is that Raphinha comes in late hard on Mateo Mori, the former La Masia player, and picks up the yellow. Mallorca wanted a red, so I have to ask at that point, what do you think? Is that a red, or is that just the yellow that Raphinha kind of did earn at that point in the game? That's for you to decide, but the ref said, we're going to play on, no red for that. And then headline 4 is Araujo, Torres, and Raphinha putting in the work. At halftime, Olmo came on for Fermin Lopez, and I would love to know what Hansi Flick's thoughts about that were. Maybe it's because Olmo is not really match fit, and he just need to get him 45 minutes. I'd say that's probably the best reason. But I would also see that up 2-0, and especially up the 2 additional men in the last 12 minutes plus stoppage time in the first half, Hansi Flick probably shouldn't have been too happy with the way that Barcelona were playing. So to kick off the second half, hey, Olmo, especially against that low block, go to work. Make sure that you've got a ball on the string in those tight spaces and figure some things out. 47th minute, it was a terrific takeaway by Raphinha on the press. It didn't lead to anything, but I do love the work rate of Raphinha. I want to mention that even on a game where I have my notes, was he kind of disappearing in the first half? Yes. Was it all working for him today? No, but he did get a goal. So there's a goal contribution that people complain that he might not get this season. And then he also, on that press, was leading the line and working really hard, and a lot of credit to him. Unfortunately, he couldn't find the net a second time, 59th minute. Torres to Raphinha on a platter, but Raphinha's pass into the net is wide. In the 66th minute, let me give some credit to Ferran Torres, because still, while you're up 2 men and you're up 2 goals, it feels like the game is over and easy, but it's not. These are still professional footballers with a few things to figure out. And Ferran Torres, with a set-piece defense, good for him. Same thing with Araujo. Araujo was rock solid where he needed to be. Yes, he probably was happy to see Muriqi hit the showers early, because Muriqi was drawing him out. He was drawing him to some fouls. But once that number 9, once that point of reference was gone from the Mallorca attack, there was nobody physically that Araujo was going to worry about. He could then react and keep everything in front of him. And that's what you want to see from Araujo. When physically you just keep everything in front, be reactive to it. It all worked out for him. So Araujo, the clean sheet for Joan Garcia, Kubarsi. Thankfully, a pretty easy day at the office for that back line for Barcelona. And then Joan Garcia commanding his box and setting up the counter. I also really like Joan Garcia. I underrated how good he would be with the ball at his feet, and he looks like he is just fine in this system with that high line, which, by the way, was at times playing as high or higher with the line of confrontation than last year. That is going to be something I'm going to love to watch and break down more in additional film coming this season. 68th minute, Jofre Torres, Marcus, Rashford, and Gabi into the game for Balde, Kubarsi, and Torres. This did switch things around a little bit. We saw Frankie de Jong just for a few minutes there playing in kind of hybrid center back role, even though at that point in the game, Barca had so much of the possession that you basically had 3 center backs, and that's absolutely just fine. And it took mere seconds for Rashford to enter that game and then get in behind. Gabi over the top with his left foot. Gabi is excellent, don't forget that. And then de Jong with him sitting at CB and pinching in. There was very little that Mallorca could do about that. Then Raphinha also off the post there. So frustrating for Barcelona because they should have been up more in the second half. It just wasn't happening. Raphinha was just wide a few minutes later as he was setting up in the middle after those subs. It should be mentioned too. Will we see more of Raphinha up through the middle? Well, if Lewandowski is out for a few weeks, and we've seen that Rashford can be more dangerous going into the half space from the wings. That's also where he said from the left he is more comfortable. So maybe we do see a little bit more Raphinha at the 9 to close out games. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to have Raphinha. It's not just about him as a number 9 when Barcelona have the ball. When they don't have the ball, I love the idea of Raphinha pressing as the 9 and the first point of attack on that press. Sounds like a good idea to me for Raphinha. Then headline 5 is Yamal's icing on the cake. 77th minute, Raphinha out of the game for Koundé. So we see Koundé return even if he wasn't 100%. He's got the new contract, so good on our guy, Jules Koundé. 84th minute, it's a long shot from Pedri. I didn't really talk about him in this game, and that's just fine because Barcelona had 2 extra men, and they could just control that game. And, hey, it's on the attack, and it's on those guys who are supposed to finish the job, and Pedri can just sit back and not necessarily relax, but control the game from where he did. So, yeah, good day for Pedri. But he had his left-footed shot saved by the goalkeeper, and adding that left-footed shot to the arsenal for Pedri, not a bad idea at all. There were 2 late shots from Lamine Yamal, which didn't find the back of the net, but finally, on the maybe last kick of the game, he does find the back of the net, that being Lamine Yamal, his first Liga goal of the season. Starts on the right, dribbles past 3 to the top of the box, lets it fly on his left foot in a goal that I think we're going to be able to see this, if you missed it, many times in the coming years, but at least quite a few times this season. Will it be as many as 25 like Ivar and I predicted just 2 days ago? Maybe. Hopefully, actually, for Lamine Yamal and our sake. He winds up stealing, I think, the man of the match from Raphinha or Ferran Torres, but he also did have an assist and maybe another assist on the Ferran Torres, if you're going to give him the credit on that one, and then he gets the goal himself. So Lamine Yamal, gosh, you're good. 18, nothing more to add. There it is. Lamine Yamal is good, and Barcelona get the 3 points. So again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow along on bigup.com as a member for free so that you can make sure that you don't miss out on the watch along that I will have next weekend and for most games. It is more likely that I'm doing a watch along on bigup.com than I am not. We're going to have, again, Oscar's going to be joining me more and more. We're going to have the tactics board, and we're going to have a ton of fun this season. Again, thanks so much for everybody who's jumping on board now and is new to this thing that I've been doing for close to a decade. So again, thanks so much to everybody, both the old heads and the new heads, especially those on Patreon. For as low as $3, you can continue to support this show. Shout out also to new Patreon Nick for his contribution. Appreciate you, Nick. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.